Hello and welcome. This is Kevin, also known as AWOL. And today we're working with pattern 6083 that I have modded. And yeah, I actually make it flip in the center, which I thought was going to make weird indentations or make the sides do something different. I wasn't sure how we would even approach something like that until I sat down with my graph paper and tried to see what could we do about it. How would we get the strings to transfer the colors from one side to the other like this? And right off the bat, like in order to do this and have a loop like I did, I had to separate all the colors, all the yellow off to the left, all the blue off to the right. That's kind of normal. Then you do the single loop over the whole group that kind of anchors things in place on both sides. Maybe tie a knot just to make sure that it stays secure. Do the rest of the looping over until it thins down to the single strands at the end, and begin doing the knotting process. So that a lot of that's kind of normal. I've done videos on it before. But yeah, so I got all the blue over on the right hand side, and the other part of this thing that kind of really had me like, how am I possibly going to do this, was I have a counter. I have this counter thing, right? The little clickety thing that you can add up the how many rows. But I knew that with my ADHD and spacing out kind of concentration, that I would probably not keep track of that very well. And once you kind of lose the track of the numbers, trying to re-add it up seemed like just too hard. So what I did was I actually used the pattern that we had created and opened it up in GIMP, which is the same editing software that I use for it. And every time I completed one of the blue rows, I just put a little, pencil tool, put a little mark at the end of that row. I did that the whole way down. And I thought that was going to add a lot of time to the overall creation of this thing, right? Because a 12 string, it should take about an hour. But now I'm adding an extra step in there. But it turns out, because it's easy, you don't have to think about the fact that, you're doing these chevrons, that it turned out I actually did this in less than an hour. Not by much, but still less than 1 hour to do the whole thing. Also, I did it in chevrons as opposed to doing it candy stripe, because I felt that doing it candy stripe I would have to turn it in the clip, so that way it was going straight across like a alpha pattern, which would not leave very much on the screen to be able to see kind of what I was doing, because you kind of have to march it up that way. Otherwise you get the candy stripe spiral that sort of happens when you're doing a candy stripe. Like, that's, if you haven't seen the video about that, I made a whole video showing you how to do a candy stripe that remains perfectly flat. Like, seriously, it's the craziest thing. All you have to do is turn it diagonally, so that way you're doing a straight row across. That's the trick. That's seriously it. So yeah, I went about doing this way, which made it easy to spot when we hit the middle. Then when we hit the middle, I had a little bit of trouble with, like, wait, what, how am I doing the rows? Where do I go? What's happening here? It got a little bit weird. I wasn't sure, like, how many to let through this way or whatever, but I got through it. I figured it out. It took me a few minutes, but I got it. It was probably, for me, the most difficult part of the whole process, because obviously the rest of this, pretty simple, basic knots, nothing too crazy, nothing to get upset about. So yeah, that was kind of weird. Yeah, so this is the middle, which reminds me, I need to thank my YouTube members, because these guys make all this stuff happen for me. We just had to pay to have my video editing software for another year, and that's not cheap. So it's this contributions that go towards actually being able to produce these videos and make it. My videos would not be the same if I had to do it on my own computer, which a few days ago you can actually witness it. The video that doesn't have the music in the background, that is because I had to do it on my own computer, and for some reason I could not for the life of me figure out how to add another audio track. It was really weird. It was really bizarre. So I'm back to using my software. Everything's going good. Yay. So, okay, back to this bracelet. The right-hand side is always a little bit longer than the left-hand side, just because there's no real way of balancing it perfectly. It's the trouble of it having to be an even number, and then when you split it, it's not an even number, and one side gets the bigger part whichever way it goes. If you try to balance it by alternating, you get like weird little chunks of 2, 2, 2 going down, which would not be the same aesthetics as what this is. So that's sort of a thing. That said, because there was the blue had the bigger side at the top and the yellow had the bigger side at the bottom, the string usage is seriously the closest I've ever seen in a bracelet where they are all completely even. So I definitely could have gone with the strings cut shorter than what I did. I did my normal 1/3, which means there was 2 skeins of the yellow and 2 skeins of the blue. However, if I had cut it in quarters, I would still have been using 2 skeins of each. I just had some string left over, which I would need to put into a separate bin because it would be a different length than everything else that I have already stored away in my bins. So it doesn't necessarily pay off for me to try to work the system to have string left over. Yes, there would be projects those could be potentially used for, and I'd have to start, worrying about different containers, different ways of keeping track of which one is which. It's for my production, it would be a lot more work. I think for a smaller user who's not doing as much, then absolutely, save your string, try projects that don't use up as much. I just never know what's going to come across my desk next, and I'm the guy that picks out the stuff. I just try coming up with new things that will be exciting, things will be different, and yeah, like I said, I don't even know what my next video is. I just know that I'll pick out something that'll be fun and potentially educational. I can see we're leaving off strings. This means we're near the end. Thank you for watching all the way through. Really appreciate that. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. And as always, don't get your strings in a bunch.